One of these items is highly addictive, causes extreme delusions, and is responsible for the deaths of over 82 million people. The other is DMT. It's non-addictive, hasn't killed anyone, and many psychedelics can provide a direct connection to one's immortality and divinity. One of these items poisons the mind. Psychedelics can liberate it. One of them closes the mind. Psychedelics can expand it. So why is one illegal and the other forcefully injected into the minds of children every day? It's insane. It should be this that's illegal. Mainstream religion has done untold damage to this world, and ironically enough, it blocks people from experiencing their divinity, which is the exact opposite of what a religion should do. Psychedelics provide exactly that and so much more, while completely bypassing child-molesting priests, violent homophobic sexist ideologies, and get-rich-quick preachers looking to buy their fourth private jet. It's only a matter of time. Psychedelics will replace mainstream religion, so let's make that time now. Insect aliens? What the fuck? In the 19th century, Nietzsche had the guts to do what needed to be done and declare the death of God. Now, by the death of God, Nietzsche meant that the Enlightenment had effectively eradicated the belief in a transcendent God. He said, God is dead, but considering the state the species man is in, there will perhaps be caves for ages yet in which his shadow will be shown. In other words, the human species is so dull-minded, weak-minded, and stagnant that they will continue to believe in a transcendent deity, even though advancements in thought show that such a deity doesn't exist. It's time to go beyond human and stop believing in shadows like the prisoners in Plato's cave. This book isn't good for anything, except rolling joints. Oh, I'm sorry, does that offend you? Well, wait a minute, before you get mad, let's take a look and see exactly what this says, shall we? If a man has sex relations with a man, the two of them have done a disgusting thing. Let them be put to death. Their blood will be on them. Homosexuals being stoned and killed for sleeping together is not okay. Unless by stoned, you mean getting high. If destroying a piece of paper that condemns homosexuals to death offends you, you've been brainwashed. Really. How crazy and hateful do you have to be to get offended by destroying such a disgusting, hateful, and violent verse? How stupid can humanity get? This belief is causing immense hatred and acts of violence towards the LGBTQ community. A popular, though often misattributed quote says, "That which can be destroyed by the truth should be." So light it up. But wait a minute, where does that leave us? Does the eradication of a transcendent deity leave us in the abyss of nihilism and void of all spirituality? Absolutely not. In fact, mainstream religion is exactly that which is blocking the human race from understanding their divine nature. The idea that the divine is something external and transcendent blocks the truth that the divine is internal and immanent. The stages of understanding reflect the Hegelian dialectic. First, there's the thesis of mainstream religion that says, God is outside of us. Then, in the Nietzschean death of God comes the antithesis, which is, there is no God, which realizes itself in atheistic materialism and physicalism. Finally, we are now entering the synthesis. God is within. We are God. You see, the divine is not external and independent to what we are. We don't have to pray to it or ask a priest to intercede for us. It's within us all. It's what we are. People just need to realize it. Inscribed at the Temple of Delphi were the words, "Know thyself," a longer aphorism that sometimes gets attributed to Greek origin and others Egyptian says, "Know thyself and you will know the universe and the gods." The reason that you'll know the universe and the gods is because that is what you are. So, how might someone experience this universe within? Well, there are many ways. One way that's leaps and bounds above mainstream religion is through psychedelic drugs. These are drugs, when taken with the proper set and setting, can lead a person to a life-changing experience by coming into contact with the personal unconscious, the collective unconscious, and with it, their inner divine nature. The brain is a mechanism that filters out data that's unnecessary for survival. It takes the data received by your physical senses and uses that information to construct a model of the world that best allows people to navigate physical reality in order to stay alive. Aldous Huxley said, "To make biological survival possible, mind at large has to be funneled through the reducing valve of the brain and nervous system. What comes out at the other end is a measly trickle of the kind of consciousness which will help us stay alive on the surface of this particular planet." Just below the threshold of consciousness lies the eternal mysteries of reality. Psychedelic drugs can lift the filtering mechanism of the brain, allowing the limitless depths of the personal and collective unconscious to come flowing in. You don't need to bow down and worship a god, because you are God. And psychedelics can allow a person to experience their divinity. That being said, there are ways to do this without psychedelics. Don't get me wrong, psychedelics are not necessary. Now, I have to clarify that I'm speaking about a very specific type of drug. In this video, I'm referring to the soft psychedelics of cannabis, LSD, otherwise known as acid, psilocybin, also known as magic mushrooms, and DMT. These should never be confused with hard drugs such as cocaine or methamphetamine. Hard drugs can cause physical addiction and death, but the soft psychedelics of LSD, psilocybin, and DMT are not physically addictive. In fact, the body builds up a tolerance to LSD that can last for a week or longer. So what this means is that repeated ingestion without a sufficient tolerance break will have no effect. So someone couldn't get high even if they wanted to. But what about an overdose? While it's very easy to die from an overdose on many hard drugs, it's almost impossible to die from overdosing on any of the soft psychedelics that I've mentioned. They have myriad therapeutic benefits and have been used for PTSD, OCD, depression, social anxiety, drug addiction, death anxiety, and more. They've inspired countless works of art and music and are responsible for major philosophical breakthroughs. Plato, considered one of the greatest philosophers of all time, posited that physical reality was merely an illusion, and underneath it all lay the true reality of mind. He attended the Eleusinian Mysteries, where it's theorized that they drank an ergot brew, ergot being a fungus from which LSD can be derived. Plato writes, "We beheld apparitions, which we saw in the pure light, being ourselves pure and not entombed in this which we carry about with us and call the body, in which we are imprisoned like an oyster in its shell." It's absolutely appalling that these soft psychedelics are illegal in many countries. Did you know that you have drugs on you right now? Your body produces DMT. It's coursing through you at this very moment. It's thought that the pineal gland may be its source, and Dr. Rick Strassman theorizes that the brain releases it when we dream and at death. What a world! Dreaming would be made illegal if it were possible to do so. In the words of Terence Mckenna, psychedelics are illegal not because the loving government is concerned that you may jump out of a third-story window. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior and information processing. They open you up to the possibility that everything you know is wrong. Now granted, there are dangers related to these substances. It can be a traumatic experience for some, and it can cause problems for those with mental issues. But even so, they are far less dangerous than many legal substances such as alcohol and nicotine. It's a travesty that they're illegal in so many places. These soft psychedelics should be made legal under a licensing process that includes a psychological evaluation. What kind of a sick world makes experiencing one's own mind and divinity illegal? The same kind of world that promotes violent, sexist, homophobic, Abrahamic religions. The reason is that one liberates the mind and the other closes it, and closed-minded individuals are much easier to control. Now, I have to clarify, even though I'm saying that psychedelics will replace mainstream religion, really, rationalism will replace mainstream religion. What psychedelics will replace is the spiritual experience. Remember that I'm talking about mainstream religions such as the fundamentalist, literalist interpretations of the Abrahamic religions. When you take these scriptures as literal, as so many people do, it causes immense destruction in the world. Now, I have experience here. I was raised under the literalist interpretation of the Bible. There are plenty of healthy religious alternatives, such as many pagan religions and even symbolic and mystical interpretations of Christianity, such as Gnosticism. It's only when you take it literally that things start going crazy and people start dying. Gnostics believe that we are all divine sparks, trapped in the world of matter, yearning to return to the realm of divine light. They consider the God of the Old Testament portion of the Bible to be absolutely evil, and consider Christ to be a spiritual being that provides them with wisdom to be able to help liberate themselves from the material world and realize their own divinity. They would interpret verses like Luke 17:21 that says, "The kingdom of heaven is within you," to mean that we're all divine. In fact, many modern Gnostics are pro-psychedelic as a means to attain what they call gnosis, divine enlightenment. This is a far cry from fundamentalist, literalist Christianity. Even today, Gnostics are considered heretics by the church, and they've been heavily persecuted and killed throughout history. These religions that recognize our divinity are enormously superior to the hateful, literalist interpretations of the Abrahamic religions that cause so much hate and bloodshed in the world. As long as people worship a God that's outside of them, they'll never realize the divine that's inside of them. Religious literalism must be replaced, and it will be as people discover what they are. Are psychedelics the answer to everything? Of course not. They can expand one's perceptual field, but if a person hasn't developed their mind and their reasoning, they won't be able to properly integrate their experiences. A stupid person that takes psychedelics will still be a stupid person. That's why in Hyperianism we constantly stress the importance of having an unshakable foundation of reason. When you have this foundation of reason, a person is able to take the content of the psychedelic experience and order it and construct it into a coherent whole and a pattern that makes sense within context. Without this rational foundation, a person will just be swimming in an ocean of chaos and confusion. Even though psychedelics won't give one the answer in itself, they can provide a person a life-changing experience of the divine that's infinitely superior to anything that mainstream religion ever could. It can open the mind to possibilities previously unimaginable and provide the drive to know. Ultimately, rationalism must replace mainstream religion. But the point is, people can have powerful spiritual experiences. It's time this age does away with the mind-limiting idea of an external God and embraces the mind-expanding experience of internal divinity. We don't need mainstream religion to have a religious experience. It prevents us from having one, and it will be replaced by the psychedelic experience and other methods of exploring internal divinity. So tell me, what do you think? Do you agree? Should the soft psychedelics mentioned be made legal with the proper licensing? Let me know right now in the comments. Also, check out this video where I interview philosopher of mind Peter Schustedt H. about why psychedelics are important and should be legalized. If you enjoy my work, support me on Patreon so I can continue to create. Remember that you should never do anything illegal. I'm not encouraging any illegal activity whatsoever. Make sure that you are always legal and safe, and no actual drugs were used in this video. I'd like to give a big thank you to all my amazing supporters on Patreon. Your support means the world to me, my friends. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Ad Astra, to the stars.